Hopefully we're actually live on my channel. I suppose I should check and make sure. I don't have the chat open or anything. How does this work? Oh no.
You were asking the wrong girl.
So how are you to start with?
Listen, today's been a struggle because, So, Jesse has to do the subject thing, right? That's fine. But while I don't have like a place to regularly like shower, like the AC at work broke. And the entire library was just sweltering. And I was just like, why? Why today of all days? Why can't we do this later on, like on Wednesday? Let's do this on Wednesday. So I told my boss, I was like, listen, I don't have a place to shower. So like, unless I'm going to shower at your house, can I go home now? She was like, yeah, I think that's okay. I was like, yeah, thanks. Bye.
Okay. Well, I don't know.
I got a notification, if that helps you.
Yeah, no, we're good. It's just I don't know what last time when I went live, I was by myself and it brought up the chat automatically. It has not, I don't see anywhere for the chat. So I'm just looking at it on my iPad in the meantime, because at least then I can see the chat.
Yeah.
Just trying to get situated. We have a couple people popping in. I find it really weird to have it on my iPad or my phone or anything, looking at the chat while we're discussing, because it's a little delayed and like I'm looking at, I don't know, it's just weird.
Yeah, I feel that. I just sent it to you.
Okay. Well, obviously we're here because we wanted to discuss angels, but I wanted to give a quick disclaimer on, as always, I am not an expert or authority on this topic, and anything that I say will just be my own personal experience, or like information that I've stumbled across while traversing my path. So, it's not like the gospel truth. It's just, again, my personal experience and what I've experienced with angels, or what I refer to as angels. I also kind of wanted to do a little disclaimer about that as well. I don't think it matters what we call it. Anything, whatever it is, deity, whatever. We refer to gods and goddesses as deity. I refer to this energy that I am talking about as angelic. And I don't believe it belongs to a religion. There are many paths that have mythology, stories, beliefs regarding this type of thing, regarding what we could call angels. And I think that's because it's there and they're tapping into that and working with it and whatnot. But I do not necessarily, you'll find as I talk that, yes, it kind of goes back to that sort of Judeo-Christian angle with how I identify them and my experience of them or whatever. But yeah, I don't know. It's just, to me, this is just like a way to label or have an understanding, a dialogue with another person about what it is I'm talking about, for one,
Yeah.
But then it doesn't matter what I called them. But yeah, so that's my little disclaimers.
Yeah. And I totally get that. I think that one of the things that kind of like makes it, I guess, hard, especially in the beginning when I was trying to like figure out, I mean, and still now, I guess, like, I just, I guess monotheistic religions tend to like really try to like brand like, this is mine and you can't have it unless you get it through this way. And so it's kind of hard to get like almost deprogram that out of your brain. And so for me, like my biggest thing was like, am I even allowed to work with angels, even though they're not like claimed by a religion necessarily?
No, I get it.
Yeah, and it's just hard to like think of like, number one, am I, as like a lowly human, am I like worthy of that kind of attention, or that kind of like, I don't like to bother people in general in my everyday life. And I feel like I'm poking at someone if I'm trying to be like, hey, can you help me do this thing, please? So I think a lot of it has to comes from that too, as well.
No, yeah, I get it. I totally get it. Which is why I reached out to you when you were talking on your channel about it, because I'm like, yeah, I understand 100%.
I feel that.
Yeah. I want to say hi to everybody that's here this far. What's up? Thank you for joining us. Yeah, so I thought maybe we would start there. Like, you kind of talking, if you're cool with it, what has brought you, what's happening with you that made me be like, oh yeah, so let's talk about that. So like,
yeah, so in the past, now it's almost been like a year, I think, like everything kind of collectively that I've really kind of seen. There's a lot of synchronicity with me, and the idea of working with the Archangel Michael. And a lot of it comes from like just like family stuff. So my Grammy always likes, like every time I go over to my Grammy's house, this is kind of one of the things that she likes to talk about. She loves synchronicity, and she loves talking about family synchronicity and how our family has a lot of it. And so one of the things that she always likes to bring up is my pops. He was a crime scene investigator, and he was a cop, and his name was Michael. And Michael is the patron saint of like cops and stuff like that. And he wasn't very religious, but he was very much like me in the way that he was like spiritual, and kind of like heaven and hell are probably there. And like, that's kind of where I'm going. And I'm just trying to do my best, and like everyone else can do whatever they want to do. And that's cool. But I don't like subscribe to any one religion, because like I don't agree with most of them. So we kind of just like wade through our own waters. But he, even though he wasn't religious, he was very kind of big on Archangel Michael, because, you know, he just like related to it with being a cop and stuff like that. And she recently gave me, we got, all the girls in the family got a little replica of his badge. And so she gave it to me. And on it, she gave me another pendant that was from when I was a little kid. And it has an angel, and the verse that it has on it, I don't remember which one it is, has to do with Archangel Michael. And it was just funny because she didn't realize it at the time, that it kind of connected to my pops as well. And so there's like a lot of small things, synchronicities I was seeing, like my name is Ashley Michelle, and Archangel Michael start the same. Where the area where I live, my Grammy sent me a thing, and I don't know, I guess like every area or a region is like associated with a saint in terms of Catholicism, and the Catholic Church like literally like associates land plots with like certain saint. And I think that's crazy. But Archangel Michael, or Saint Michael's, is in the area that I'm living in. So yeah, right? Like freaking crazy. My sister's on the other side. And so when she sent me that, because we were talking about it, and I was talking to her, and I was like, you know, I really like Archangel Michael. Like those are just the vibes that I like feel all the time, like this kind of warrior like type vibes. Like if I'm ever trying to like think of contacting anyone, or like asking for help from anyone and stuff like that. And so she was like, oh, you should look into Archangel Michael. And there was like a whole bunch of other stuff, and I had it all written down, but it was, he's one of the angels that's mentioned a lot, or most, to my understanding, in the Quran as well. And, you know, my family is Muslim, like my mom is Muslim, and oh no, where'd my thing go? I can't find you anymore.
I can hear you and see you and everything.
Oh, you can see me? Okay, well, hey, you can see me. That's fine. I was like, oh God, where'd I go? But yeah, so my mom converted to Islam, and Archangel Michael was one of the like angels that she very much closely talked about all the time. So it's just like funny, these little things that keep like rising up, and I'm just like, he's like fucking coming out of the woodwork everywhere. What does he want? Like, is he like trying to talk to me? Like, is that a thing? Because I've not worked with deities or anything like that. I kind of just like feel like I work with myself and like the earth that's around me, and that's about as far as I can reach, really. That's as far as I can feel around, like, intuitively. So it's just really funny to like have all these synchronicities. Oh, that was the other thing. Jesus Christ, I almost forgot. Okay, so I was watching a Bahati Life video. She's another YouTuber, and she had a video on how to break generational curses. And I'd only ever heard the term generational curses from my dad's side of the family, who's like super Christian, but like also they've got some like magic going on in there, and they don't want to admit it. And I'm like, okay, whatever, like that's fine. And so one of the things that she talks about is contacting Archangel Michael and asking him for help with breaking whatever curse it is that you have. And she said, you know, for her it worked, and she recommends it to anyone. And if you can, to go to his temple, which also happens to be in Florida, and it's like within a reasonable distance. And I was like, what is this? So it's just like all those little things just converging together and making this like piquing Ashley's interest in like, oh, hi, can we like talk about whatever's happening right now? Because I'd like clarification.
It's funny. It's kind of the same for me as far as like, I still don't actively work with deity most of the time. Mm-hmm. It's a rare thing for me. I work with angels all the time though, but like, it was the same kind of thing. Like I had never worked with a deity before angels started showing up, and one in particular, but when you made your video, I was just like, oh, because I had the same thing. First off, for me, it wasn't, am I allowed? For me, it's like, are you kidding me? Really? I had such a difficult relationship with Christianity my entire life. Like I wasn't raised Christian at all. I actually actively seek it out to try to be like, what is this? Because I didn't have any religion. And I was constantly beat back by my experiences with it. Mm-hmm. So I came to a point where I was not comfortable with it at all. And like, I'm still being beaten by it. I am. Like we have Catholic relatives who are hell-bent on converting us and like have done like actively do things.
Yeah.
So yeah, I had this weird relationship with Christianity in this lifetime, but I mean, I'm better with like energetically and whatever. I feel better about it now than I used to, but little cosmic crow popped in. Hi. Okay. So for me, gosh, okay, so this had to be around 2004-ish. And around this time, like Sylvia Brown used to be on Montel Williams all the time. And I always find psychics and stuff. I'm always interested. I at least look at them and see what they're about, whatever, you know? Yeah. And I remember one episode, she said something about you can sit in a meditative space and ask what your soul's name is. And I'm like, all right, fine. Why not? So I did that. And I got into this sort of weird, almost trance state or whatever. And I'm like, what's my name? And I got a name, and it was Enoch. And I'm like, wow, that sounds really familiar. What the hell is that? And I had no context for it. So I just like left it alone. But eventually it kept bugging me. So I went and I actually grabbed like my Webster's dictionary, because I didn't even get on the internet at that point. And so I just looked it up, because to me it was a word. It wasn't a name. It's right. Weird. But of course it is in the dictionary, because Enoch is like the 7th generation son from Seth, the 3rd son of Adam, and Enoch is the grandfather of Noah. And what? No. So I just put it away and I ignored that. I'm like, I don't want to hear that. I don't know anything about that. I don't want to know anything about that. And just went on about my business. But again, kept coming back to me. So in the next, over the next 2-year period, I kind of came to terms with it eventually. Like, I started getting on the internet and looking, what is Enoch? What is this? And it gets worse because better, worse. In the, like, he's not canon. Enoch is not canon. Metatron and all this, the books of Enoch are not canon, but they are out there, and they were out there, but they just weren't chosen to be part of the whole biblical teaching and blah, blah, blah. Anyway, so Enoch was 500 and something years old, and he was like so pious and so righteous and whatever, that the angels came down and took him into the heavens and taught him everything. And then he ascended to heaven with God, and God turned him into an archangel, the archangel Metatron, and he is the scribe in the mouth of God. He is the voice of God, blah, 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 blah. And I'm just like,
Wow.
right, yeah, no, no.
Like, yeah, I know.
Then again, I'm not going to look at you anymore. I can't deal with this right now.
Right.
And walked away from it again, but again, kept coming back to me. And I finally was just like, my guide is trying to work with me, and I get that. And like, I can't. So he says to me one day, it's the only time I've ever heard his voice in my head. And it was the cutest thing. He sounded like a little old Jewish man. He says, call me Ishmael. And I'm like, I can do that. And he even showed himself physically in a different, he looked different than he does any other, like only when he's Ishmael does he look like that, you know? And I was good. I'm working with my guide. Everything is fine. But ultimately, I still know that just because you've changed your name, like you're still the same energy, and I still know what's going on there. So I kept looking into it, and I shit you not, Ashley. So we stumble across, we're looking at Metatron, we stumble across the third book of Enoch, or it's also called the Book of Palaces, or the Book of Rabbi Ishmael, the high priest, and the revelation of Metatron. It is believed that Rabbi Ishmael wrote Enoch, the third book of Enoch, after visions of ascension to heaven. And I was just done again. I'm just like, are you kidding me right now? And fortunately, my husband is with me this whole time. So like, I know that, like, I mean, you can't make this stuff up.
You're right.
Finally, I kind of, I was just like, fine. And like this, probably 2008 or 2009, for my birthday, we went, I'm into like channelers. I think that's cool. As long as you don't look hokey, like if like there's like Abraham Hicks, I really love. The one we went to see, his name is Lee Carroll, and he channels a extraterrestrial being, supposedly Cryon. Mm-hmm. And so we were there, and I have it on, we digitally recorded it. I wish I had listened to it before I did this, because I can't remember what he said. He said something though, and I just like burst into tears, because it settled in me that like, yes, this is my guide, and like, it's okay. It's all good. Because for me, it's more than that. It's like, my primary guide is like my higher I am presence. Now that, I don't think that makes me special. I'm not like, I'm an archangel. That's not how that works for me. It's like much more complicated than that. And I could get into that in a video another time, but I finally accepted it and was able to move on in my path and develop this like rich relationship with this thing, with this angel. But yeah, initially, and since then, I work with angels all the time, all kinds of angels all the time. Whereas I had to get through that first hurdle, because like, I feel it. It's like, I'm a witch. My shamanic, and we got angels coming here. Like, what? Yeah. Really? But I mean, I came to terms with the fact that, again, they don't belong to anything. They are, they're outside of all that. And so, I don't really know where to go. So like, I work with Metatron as my primary guide. I've never talked about that on my channel before, because I know some witches probably can't handle it. Well, I just don't even usually talk about it. I do talk about the fact that I work with angels, but not every day, all day, pretty much there's an angel on my fucking shoulder.
I love that though, like to live in your truth. So like, and I love that you were kind of have to like, you were stubborn about it, you know what I'm saying? Because like, that would be totally me, like, no, stop, shut up, I'm not looking at you. It literally took years for me to come to terms with it. Yeah, but I'm glad I did, because I have worked probably for about a decade or more now with angels in my practice.
so I guess I'll just quickly talk about how I kind of work with them. Like,
Yeah.
for instance, when if I do spell work, I'll normally don't include angels in that, but like when I do ritual and I call the porters, they had 4 main archangels, Michael being one of them, presented themselves to me as corresponding to a direction. And so I call them in when I cast to ground and guard my circle and to watch over whatever it is I'm doing. And they have particular energies, obviously. And so like one of the first things I did was after they presented themselves to me was to sit and sort of invite them in and say the words, what does it feel like in my body when I'm in your presence? And had them like called each one of the 4 main archangels that I work with outside of my guide. And I have another angel that came in, but what does that feel like in my body? Show me what that feels like. And had them step forward and like experience what that feels like.
Oh.
Because I wanted to know. And like, I actually got mad at Uriel. The way she felt, like it's when she presented herself, it was like somebody was nose to nose with me, staring me in my face. And I was like, because she had been doing that to me for years. I didn't know it was her until that moment. I'm like, you've been coming to me for years and I've been laying in my bed at night feeling like, some evil ghost is staring at me, or, like, I don't know what is happening. What is this sensation?
Yeah. No context for it. It's kind of freaky.
It was freaky. And so I was just like, really, really. But I don't typically do magic with them. I typically will call in like ancestors for magic, but like if I'm going to have a medical procedure, if I'm going to like, even like I'm out in traffic, I'm like, angels, I need help right now. Correct, because this traffic is crazy. Like, help me get out into traffic, whatever. Like, I work with them more loosely in that way. Or if something happens that is really, for me, is scary. Then I call them. But I don't I've never I've never had them work with me in magic before. I've never actually even thought about it.
Yeah, really. Yeah, because that's like, I think that's kind of the main, I don't want to say the main purpose as to why like I would work with them or with Michael specifically, but I feel like that's where like the calling is leading to. Does that make sense? Like, I feel like that's what he wants to help with, is like opening me up to like this bigger, higher thing that I don't necessarily know what is, but is there. And like, it's like there's a door and he's like, can we just come through this door? Right?
That's awesome. Yeah, my experience is kind of like that too. I mean, it's I akin it to like my spiritual path and practice, but you might be drawn to Enochian magic. Have you ever looked at that?
I have not. I haven't even heard that.
Angels in your magic, basically.
Oh, okay.
I'm interested in it, but I've not. And there's that word again. It's Enochian, but Enoch. Like, I don't. Yeah. I haven't looked into it too terribly deep. I don't know why. I find that when I try to look at things, it backfires, and I'm just supposed to kind of do it organically. I'm not supposed to study.
Yeah.
That's really hard.
It is hard, especially like I'm super studious in that, like, I like to jump into subjects and like dive deep into them. And I find every time I do, literally, so 2 instances where this is a thing, right? The first one was when I got my, I had like a bunch of new tarot decks, and I'm like, I don't use any of my other tarot decks. I use this one tarot deck because she's nice to me and she loves me and she's like a mommy and she's just like, it's gonna be okay. And so I was like in my head, complaining about it. I was like carrying all these other decks with me in my car and just like wanting them around me in my space all the time. And I was like, I'm gonna look at that tomorrow. I'm gonna look at it tomorrow. And it got to the point where I was like, Ashley, you're literally not going to look at it, right? Like, you keep saying you're going to look at it, but you're not going to, because you're just like a chicken shit and you don't want to deal with like anything more forceful than mommy energy. I'm just going to need you to get your shit together. And so little Cosmic Crow's tag, when she was like, you know, what's the deck that's sassiest? So I was like, none of my decks are sassy to me because I only use this one. And then the next time I freaking used it, I kid you not, like the next day, the pictures started ripping off of the bottoms. And when I was shuffling them, and one completely freaking cut up in half, and I was like, no. I was like crying. And I was like, why is this happening? And I was like, because your bitch ass opened your mouth one too many times. Actually, that's why it's happening. And so I was like, okay, guess we're going to have to get a new deck and use a new deck because you were a dumbass and you had to say something and like challenge whatever universe energy is out there. That's what you did. You put a challenge out there, and now you have to rise up to that occasion. But like, you know, I was just complaining about like not being able to like really throw myself into tarot and really this and really that. And it was like, okay, sure, that's what you think. Here you go. And same thing with astrology. Like I've been like, oh, I want to get into astrology. And I bring a book, and like I have Jessica Starr, her like, you know, series that's like saved in my thing. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to sit down one day and I'm just going to take notes. And now I've kind of like, Ashley, just calm down, just wait, let that happen when it happens, because your bitch ass knows you keep hounding on it, but not doing it, something's going to fuck up. And I'm just like, okay. Cool. We're just going to wait. I'll let it happen when it happens as it's supposed to happen.
So I wonder if you've tried actively to work with him.
I have not yet. Okay, listen. So I printed out the little prayer that Bahati Life, you know, recommended specifically for him. And I had done like a spiritual counseling session with Jessie Huntenberg. And like, I kind of told her a little bit about what was going on and, you know, my time constraints with my schedule and stuff like that. And she was like, okay, well, on Mondays, like, you know, plan out your ritual, then do it on Wednesdays. So that way you're not like freaking out about it. And so I keep like going to do that. And Tuesday, I think, if I remember correctly, is actually Michael's day. Or a day that's associated with him. And that would work really well because Tuesdays is my library. Like it's an all day library day, but I'm free and clear by 7:30. So like I have the rest of the night to myself to do whatever. And so I went down to Brittany's and we went to the little like Avalon shop that she goes to. And I got a big candle. They had a bunch of like Michael stuff, and I was like, oh wow, okay, like so maybe I'll like do a thing. And so I did get a candle for him, and I have it on my altar, and it's just like sitting there staring me in the face every day like, bitch, if you don't like this shit like right now, I'm gonna slap you upside the head. But it's still there. So I'm going to, and I'm trying to prepare myself to do it, but I guess like I'm just afraid that I'm gonna do it and I'm gonna get like results, and I'm gonna be like, wow, okay, like now I can't slack off anymore. Like I can't go back to like being comfortable. I have to like always move forward and progression and whatever. And I'm just kind of in this in-between state where I'm like, okay, like I want that, but also can I lay down now? Because I'm tired. So
yeah, way too. I get it. But I think if he's your guide, I think it's different because he's, in my understanding of it and my beliefs around it are that he's always been with you. Like,
right.
Angels are not like, an angel can be in every place at once. Like they're not limited by our perceptions of time and space and all that, blah, blah, blah. So he can be with you and be with, you know, however many other people at the same exact time. Right. Yeah. So even if you take that first step, and like if you slack off the next day, he's gonna be like, that's Ashley, it's fine, it's not, you know, he's not gonna get mad. Or I
think that's like one of the biggest things is like I'm always afraid of like this disappointment, and not necessarily disappointment from myself, but like from other people, you know. And like thinking about, I just like have such a strong association between him and my grandfather that it's kind of like, if I disappoint him, I'm disappointing my grandpa, or if like I don't do the thing perfect, then like, and obviously that's like silly human logic, right? Because like, actually, really, but like it's there, and that's the logic that is in my head. So that's like, and I know it's something that I like just have to kind of get over, and I think I know I will. Of course, I will. We don't even think it. I know I will, but I'm just like, okay.
So when you're talking about actively working with him, are you talking about spell work or?
Yeah, like mostly what I would like to do is like protection stuff, kind of like, you know, just like the property and stuff like that. Me personally, go ahead.
No, I lied. You just made me realize I lied. One of my grids around the house is an angelic grid. Like I have angelic sigils on little bags, and I have herbs and stones associated with what I wanted, and they're in their cardinal direction according to how they presented themselves to me. So I have done magic with them before. Think about it. I don't know. I don't think about, it's not that I don't think about it on the same level somehow. I don't know.
Yeah.
I wonder why my brain separates it like that. I don't know. It's weird.
I don't know, but it's really cool that it does that. And like, I don't know. It's really cool that it does that. And today, just like a funny aside, right? So I went to my first Reiki session, which I meant to talk to you about, on Saturday. And the lady that was there, we were talking, and it was so funny because she was like, I don't know why I'm talking to you so much. Like, I never talk to my clients this much and whatever. And I had asked one of my coworkers who went to her for a Reiki session a couple weeks prior, and I asked my coworker, I was like, do you think she'd like be cool with like me videotaping and stuff like that? Like, obviously I asked her, but I don't want to ask her if she doesn't have like the vibe of like, yeah, you can ask me. And she was like, oh no, I mean, like she's kind of serious. And I was just like, oh, okay, cool, like no big deal. But like this lady was like we were best friends and we'd been friends for years, and she was like, I don't know why I'm like talking to you, like I've known you. And I'm just like, I don't know, dude, but it's totally cool. And I was just like, hey, would you mind if like maybe next time I come in, like I videotaped it, maybe we had an interview? And she was just like, yeah, wow, like that'd be so cool. And listen, and I was just like, okay, yeah, we do that. But she actually has a friend who she believes is like part of her soul family, and she was like, we've like worked together in past lives and stuff like that, and his name's like Keaton, and she was like, you should talk to him, because I was talking to her about like my property, and it's like fucking weird ass vibes. So yeah. And so I was like, would he, because she said that he's a psychic medium, and I was like, it's funny because like I'm a witch. But like when someone's like, oh, I'm a psychic medium, I'm like, but are you? And I don't know why it would be so like different. You know what I'm saying? Like,
well, I think it's because it's easier to say I'm a witch and actually be a witch than to say I'm a medium and be a psychic medium.
Yeah. And I always feel bad because I'm just like, but listen, let's talk about this real quick. So she was talking about him, and she was like, yeah, he could totally come out. So I texted him the other day, and of course he has no idea that I'm like a witch or anything. She didn't know that I was a witch, right? I didn't talk to her about it, unless like she felt something or whatever, in which case that's a totally different story. But it was not verbalized or anything like that. And so he was like, oh yeah, I could come out and do a reading of the property, and then I could cleanse it and whatever. And as soon as he said that, I was like, no, I can do that. That's fine. I just want you to tell me what's happening. And I realized that I was getting so defensive, and I was like, why are you getting, I was talking to my friend Parker about this. I was like, why was I so defensive? Like, he doesn't even know I'm a witch. He like gets paid to do this. Like, other people come to him for this. And I was like, nah, bitch, like, calm down. I just need you to like tell me what's happening, because I got the rest. Like, I don't know who you think you're talking to. Like, I can handle my own shit, thank you. But it was just so funny because I was like, Why?
Well, and I think that might be less about him knowing that you're a witch and more about you just being like, I don't know, we're very, I don't necessarily want anybody I don't know coming up and doing stuff around my property. I'll do it. Like, I'll work with my stuff and, yeah. It's kind of like peeing on your territory. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, no, I know exactly what you mean. Because I felt like an animal. I was like, that was super territorial. Ashley, like, calm down. But it was just like super funny. And I think that was like one of the things that like opened the door for the whole angel situation, was because like my biggest fear with like anything like remotely outside of myself and like the ground that I'm sitting on is always this fear of I'm not going to be knowledgeable enough to know who/what is talking to me, right? So I could like fall into like this trap of like right? And so I think that's like a super like a super monotheistic kind of idea that I'm still kind of struggling with. But I think
that's understandable though.
Huh?
That's understandable though.
Yeah. And I think that it's like opened the door to this possible like working with Michael, because like the whole protection, and it's like, it's a more familiar almost like space that I could be working in potentially, even though like Christianity is not necessarily something that I've had like good experience with anyway. But I feel like because of the connection with like my grandfather, it like makes it a much softer blow. Like it makes it much easier to consume. Does that make sense?
It does. But I also would add that you talked about it already. Like the archangels, these angels don't belong to Christianity.
Right.
Yeah. Like they're in Islam, they're in other forms, other old religions. And even if you go back to ancient Sumerian stuff, they're not calling them angels, but it's the same thing. You know what I mean? So yeah, I get it. Like,
yeah,
it's, I don't know. Yeah, it's an easy way to feel safe stepping into so abstract and like yeah, again. And I can see that too with you, because you talk about the fact that, you believe that there may be this heaven and hell and the whole thing, like you feel it in you. That's your reality. So like, I can completely understand why that would be the safe place to go.
And it's also super funny, right? Because, and I think I've talked about it on the channel, but like, that Christian side of my family that I was talking about that are like, have witches and stuff like that. My great-grandfather was a curandero. So he was like, a witch doctor of sorts. And like literally my aunts, like modern people, have stories of him like doing exorcisms and doing like all of these things and like working with whatever. And I'm just like, to my understanding, if I remember correctly, he worked a lot with like spirit work, right? And so that's something it's funny because I didn't find out this until like I was an adult, but as a kid, like spirit work has always been so interesting to me. And like, I've been so driven to like fucking like get into it. But then I'm like, wait, also like scary, back up. And like he dealt with herbs and he was very like, green thumb, and everyone in my family on that side, they're like growers, they're like very traditional Mexican in some of that sense, landscapers on, half the family, like, and, these things weren't talked about when I was a kid, but as I've gotten older and realized where like a lot of this seems almost like inherently in my blood. And I'm just like, okay, well, maybe this is supposed to be like a way for me to start to like step into like working with other entities and like deities and whatever, and trying to like being able to get to a point where I'm comfortable enough to do like spirit work, because I know that I've had experiences when I was a kid and I was very open to it when I was a kid. And I know that I closed those doors very tightly, and I still have those doors closed very tightly. But every once in a while, it's kind of like with the thing on my property, like there's this unspoken agreement that, bitch, listen, I'm not going to look at you. Just don't come in my space and we're going to be fine. I'm going to pretend you're not there. But if I acknowledge it, I feel like it's going to be like, rah, bad, evil, blah, blah, blah. But I don't think that that's necessarily the case. Like, I personally believe that, like, if I really just like allowed myself to do it, that I could probably do a lot of good with it. But boxes and blinders, we're still working our way out.
Yeah, that totally makes sense. And Michael is the perfect energy to have with you at that point.
Right. It felt pretty perfect too. And I was like,
for me, this is just me, but for me, like, all of these things are aspects of great spirit. And so Archangel Michael in particular, he has several things he does, but like, if I need protection, I don't have to be like, I'm scared, I need protection. I can just be like, Archangel Michael, I need you. And like, it's automatically understood. Okay, I'm coming. I've got my sword. I'm about to shove it up somebody's, So that is absolutely, in my mind, the perfect energy to be working with and to have around you. Because I also am drawn to the, like, my path is like shamanic. So like, and I just recently actually did a little ceremony ritual to open up to fully working with spirits, with the spirits. Right. And for me, it's scary. And like, I've been tiptoeing that way for a long time and working with angels, for a decade and blah, blah, blah. But like, I can totally see why how that could be beneficial, because I don't know if you've seen, but I have a video, one of my witchy tales, where I talk about something trying to get at me, and I like invoke Archangel Michael. Yeah. Like, it's no joke. Like, I never, like, I'm not afraid of anything, because like, I know he will be right there. And like, and I don't necessarily do evil, but there are things in this world that are really unpleasant and super disharmonious to me, and like, they feel bad. It doesn't, like what you're talking about on your property, it might not be evil, but it doesn't feel good to you. It's not good to you and for you. And there's, a million things that could be, but like, he would absolutely be like, Metatron is my main guide, but like, if I'm in trouble, like, I'm not calling Metatron. I'm calling Michael.
Yeah. And it's really funny too, because like, I don't know if I've like talked about this on the channel a lot, but like, since my grandfather died, like, when I would talk to God, it didn't feel like I was talking to God. And I think that that's why I have had such like a disharmonious relationship with Christianity, because I felt like I was almost being blasphemous because I was using the word God and saying the name God, but that's not the energy that I was feeling. And so by the time like middle school hit, I was like writing diaries to like my pops. And I was like, okay, well, like, maybe this feeling, like this person that I think I'm talking to is my pops, right? But now again, like, the evolution like continues, and like, as I kind of think about Archangel Michael, I think my association with my pops to him is just like I said, like a consumable way for me to like understand his Michael's energy. And I think that that's possibly like who I've been talking to, like, in all those times when I was trying to talk to someone, it was him. And like, that's who was listening. And but yeah, so
I think that's great. And I think you're probably right. I mean, you would know better than anybody, but that would make sense to me, because again, this is just me, but my primary guide for me is my higher I am. I feel like there's an energy that is, I refer to as Metatron, and that pieces of that. Okay, so like, you have great spirit, which is broken down into these other pieces, one of which is Metatron, and then Metatron can be broken down into many pieces, and like, there could be, I don't know, 600 other people walking the earth who are also have Metatron as their primary guide, whether they realize it or not, and who are also part of that. Like, we're all like, ultimately, to me, it's all connected to one. And again, this is just me, but like, it would totally make sense that you would be talking, the way I look at it, to your higher I am presence, which would, if Michael is your primary guide, would be Michael.
Right. I think that's really interesting, especially like the umbrella kind of effect that you're talking about, because that's very similar to kind of like what I think and like how I feel. And a lot of times, you know, I'll get into discussions specifically, and like maybe this is like silly, right? But like because I do believe like in a God-like energy, you know, whenever like typically the Christians that I talk to, they'll be like, well, how does, you know, this work, or how does this work, or whatever? And I'm like, well, why can't God have like created all these things? Why can't they be extensions of God that are consumable to other people? You know, because God, in my opinion, like knows that Christianity, Islam, Judaism aren't going to work for everyone. Like, why would he make it very cookie cutter? Like, why would he only allow this way for this and that and whatever? And so like my I think it's an actual theory, but my mom calls it like the mountain theory. And she's like, and that's how she taught me, is she was like, you know, everyone is just trying to get to the same place. They're just trying to get to a good life and like, you know, die happy. And it doesn't matter how you do that. We're all just on other different sides of the mountain, and maybe we can't understand or see the way that that person is walking up the mountain, but you know, essentially we're all on the same mountain, and it doesn't matter how you get there. And so like that's kind of how I try to like, I guess, explain it to other people who aren't like as open to different types of spirituality. And I'm just like, we're all on the same rock, dude. Like, just be cool with it. Like, it's not a big deal. But I think that regardless of what it is, whatever energy it is, whatever being it is, I think the idea of it is supposed to be this digestible consumableism, like consumableness, and that like however you experience it is that's fucking great. Like just experience it. And I think this is like, it's so weird because like if you had come to me, you know, like in high school and been like, oh, this is how you're going to experience like your own spirituality and like whatever, I would have laughed. I would have been like, really? Because like that sounds silly. I don't know. But now I'm like knee deep in it and I'm like, wow, okay, yeah, that makes sense. That made sense for Ashley.
Hi, Raquel. Hi, Erica. No, I completely agree. I'm always, the way I say it is that spirit communicates to each of us in a way that we understand. So like that looks different to this person and that person and whatever. But yeah, we're this is the way I feel about everybody. I've even said this to like the people that want to convert us. I'm like, we're speaking, you know, we're talking about the same thing. We're just using different words. Like it's cool. It's all good.
Yeah. Like, let me use the words that I want to use.
Right.
It's fine.
Yeah.
Oh man. Yeah. Sometimes your family, like, or that side of, you know, your family, I'm just like, what are y'all doing? Sit down. Sit down. Please, you're too hype. Go home.
Relax.
Yeah.
Well, I feel like we've been blabbing on and on about angels and our experiences and beliefs. Does anybody in the chat want to say anything?
Yes, please say things. I'm sorry. I talk a lot.
It's cool. We can happily continue. I don't think either of us has a problem with not being able to carry on a conversation.
Oh no. Oh.
I think that's funny. So is that guy gonna come out and like check out your property then?
I think so. I have to like get over my excuse me. I can handle this. But you know, and it was so funny because like I was passive aggressively making like responses like, oh, I don't need you to do that. And I was like, Ashley, calm down. Jesus Christ. You're so just like give him a time of day. And then you can always talk to him and be like, hey, like it's totally cool. You don't have to do that part. But like I do still want you to come out. I do still want him to come out and read everything. It's like $100. And I don't know if that's like good or bad or like whatever, but I mean, like, that's my $100.
I mean, I don't know that that's great, but it's not. I've heard of worse for sure.
Worse. That's what I was like. I mean, I'm pretty sure like I've seen worse. So I mean, like that's cool. And also, I live, you know, in the middle of nowhere, so I mean, the
Right.
gas alone to get there is probably a quarter of that anyway.
I used to ride with
So-
Amelia when she would do her work, and like gas mileage is part of the.
Yeah, so I was like, yeah, I get it. But I do want him to come out. I want to ask him about possibly like talking to him afterwards and like kind of vlogging that and being like, you know, tell what you felt, because I'd like clarification for everyone that's always like, Ashley, you're silly, really? Because like he said. But
So Erica's asked a question. For those who don't know, Erica, her channel name is Raw Spirit, so that's how you recognize her in the chat. But she wanted to know if we have suggestions on working with angels, connecting or whatever, because she hasn't. And I think if like you actively want to connect, I know Erica, so I know she works in the astral. Like that might be one way.
That would be super great.
Right. Or even I know you do like path working, that might work too. But the way that I actively went is I just sort of got in, like when I talked about it earlier in the video, like got into this space where I could interact with that energy, and then just I've called out to specific angels by name, understanding that they were associated with certain energies and have, they have certain correspondences, things that they preside over, what have you. Only knowing a minimal amount of that kind of information, but and just sort of sat with what that felt like. And I started incorporating them into my work. Like I said, I didn't think that I actively worked with them in spells, but after sitting here with Ashley, I think that's not as true as I thought it was. I had them separated in my mind somehow, but I was doing magic with angels, but like I just didn't make that connection somehow. I don't know.
I think that's so funny.
To me, they're very similar to deity, though. So, I mean, any way that you would use to connect with deity, you could also use to try to connect with angelic energy, I think. Mm-hmm. Do you have any different ideas or theories on that?
No, I really like the astral idea, and it's funny because like between my aunts, there are like two aunts that I normally like talk about when it comes to like the Christian stuff. One aunt is very like uber Jesus juice, and she calls it ascension, right? But it's essentially like it's a Christian idea, I guess, but it's essentially the same thing as like astral projection. And I've talked to her sister, my other aunt, the younger one, and she's like the only one I can ever get a clear, straight answer from. And, she's talked about how when she was a kid, she used to have really bad problems with astral projecting while she was sleeping. And so she was like, yeah, astral projection. And I was like, okay, so what's ascension? She was like, it's astral projection, Ashley. Don't let Thea tell you any other way. Like, that's what it is. She just doesn't like that word. So I think that like going into that kind of realm would be really good, especially like if because like the one aunt, she's doing it to like get closer to like angelic figures and stuff like that. So I think that it would be really super awesome.
Again, it's this idea that we're doing the same thing. We're talking about the same stuff. We're just using different words to do it.
Yeah.
She also asked about divination, how we use divination to connect with them. Anytime I do a reading for someone, I am tapping into angelic guidance because I am going to be connecting with Metatron, and he's an angel and he is my primary guide. So personally, yes, every time I do divination, I am tapping into, and I am talking to an angel. If he wasn't my primary guide, I don't know if that thought would have occurred to me, though. I don't know if I would have I haven't, with any of the other angels I work with, I haven't used divination to do so, but it just hadn't occurred to me to do so because I always just connect with him when I'm doing divination. But I actually think that's a really cool idea. Mm-hmm. Movement. I find ritual space, sacred space, a great place to connect with all kinds of energy. So angelic energy, of course, is going to be on that list. I do actually sometimes see what I call light energy, and I'm referring to angels. Most often, it'll be at the very top of the room. It'll be like a trail of like a headlight or something moving very quickly. My son sees them too. Lately, I've been seeing them lower in the house, which is weird, and in the middle of the day. So I know it's not actually headlights, because if it's nighttime, I'll automatically assume that it's like a headlight catching the reflection through the house or something. But
yeah.
And couple times I've seen more like I've seen actual like what's the word I'm looking for? Humanoid type happening, and known that they were angels, but that's only been like twice that I can think of. But again, this I believe there are many reasons. We each have things that we are sort of adept or naturally have natural inclination to do because of whatever it is we came here to do. But also the fact that I've been working with those energies for at least a decade is also going to heighten my sensitivity and my ability to interact with them. I think really the biggest thing that you need to work with angels is just to be open to working with angels, to accepting of that. Personally.
No, I totally agree, because like I haven't done anything specific to like garner any kind of like response other than like my like desire to do the thing, you know, like, so I think that just being open to it is really like the biggest and most important thing that you would need anyway, which I feel like in witchcraft anyway, like that's the most important thing you need.
Right. Azrael, Angel of Melancholy, has joined. Hi. And he said the most common sense thing. So common sense that I didn't need, like, it's like, oh yeah, duh. He asked if we've tried evocation. So like, of course, if you want, like, evoking an angel would be like the most
probably like step number one.
I've actually never done that. I did invoke one time, unintentionally, but you know. But no, yeah, calling an angel. And I would imagine, like I said, we talked about Enochian a bit earlier, and I'm sure there's all kind of stuff in there, but well, we mentioned it. But probably even in ceremonial magic, like I'm sure there's like legit ceremonies, rituals, like they've got it mapped out, the evocation you could do to call angels. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I'm sure with a little research, it would be easy enough to find that kind of thing. I personally have never tried it though. But again, all this happened very organically, and I didn't even want it. So sorry, I'm reading a comment.
No, you're fine. I know. I wish I could help you read comments. Can you let him?
Okay, so hi, Charlie. Amber Moon Witch of Solstice asks, like last time you couldn't do the live, I went ahead and went live and just chatted with them because I promised a live. So and she had asked about specific crystals associated with angels, and I named like the top 3 that I always think of off the top of my head or whatever, which actually I brought them in case you didn't know what they were like, in case you popped in. You know. So this is celestite, which it comes in lots of different forms, but it's such a pale blue, and my camera is not going to do it justice at all. And then this is seraphonite. I love it. It actually looks like little angel wings, like all through. It's one of my favorites with regards to working with angel energy. And then Dambarite is the other one that pops into my brain, and it just looks like, where we at, quartz, except for the face always has like this little flat. It always has this little, it's always shaped exactly like this.
That's so crazy.
Rather than coming to a point. And now, but she wanted to know if there's any scents, like fragrance, that we associate with, and I don't. I mean, maybe with a particular angel I worked with, if I sat down, I'm sure I could, like, I work with an angel named Zedekiel, and I really associate him with like Venus energy, love, benevolence, that kind of thing. So might burn rose or something, like rose incense. But yeah, I don't know. I've never actually thought about that before. Now I'm going to be thinking about that, I'm sure.
So I do have an answer for that one. And it's super funny, but it's like the Pops connection with Michael. It's Marlboro Lights. It's really weird. I know, but like that is like, because they're like smoky, but not like harsh. And it's kind of just like this soft after.
Weird. Look, my son was making fun of me the other day when we were talking about this, like getting ready for this live, when I was talking to him about it, because my youngest, I was talking about the one time that I have seen like a humanoid form of Michael. Like when I see angels in human form, like I don't see their heads, like they don't have heads. It's just like shoulders down. But he was dressed like basically like the Marlboro Man.
Oh my God, I love it.
Right? My son makes fun. He's like, he was wearing a duster. I'm like, yes, he was wearing a duster.
That like, literally to me makes
my husband saw him and my mom saw him too, but all on different days. Tobacco, yeah. And Azrael had mentioned, he talked about lapis and amethyst and obsidian. Amethyst is also one I associate with angels. Yeah, any one that's going to be good for communication, of course, is going to be good. I'm glad some more people joined the chat. I mean, it's probably better that they weren't there in the beginning because we were just like running our faces
off. Chatty Cathy's.
Anybody have anything else to add? I'm gonna butt into your conversation there. So Amber Moon Witch of Solstice, she said that lapis is something that she actually finds kind of blocks her, and I'm just going to suggest that that might just be your energy. I believe that there's like a baseline thing that crystals do, but because they are energy and we are energy, that when they interact with us, sometimes it's different than everybody else's experience. Mm-hmm. I always use moldavite as the example because some people can't stand to be around moldavite and other people are okay with it in small doses, whereas I want to like live in it all day, every day. And I know other people like that too. So I just think the energies interact differently. Just because, you know, the consensus is that does this one thing doesn't mean that it's going to work exactly that way with each and every one of us. I genuinely believe that. Hi, Starlight. Oh, that's funny. I was thinking about that when I was like talking to okay, so Erica wanted to know, raw spirit, if angels have genders. And I'm going to say no, they don't have genders, but just like anything else, they have energy. And so my perception of their energy is feminine or masculine. You know, for example, Uriel to me, when Uriel presents herself to me, it's very feminine energy. It's very like intuitive, mystic, receptive, watery energy. Whereas Michael is not that way at all. It's very sort of masculine, projective energy. So that's my answer to that question personally.
Yeah, I have the same. It was funny because I was talking to Parker again about this and they asked the same question. And I was like, no, I think that they're if they like fall on the human spectrum of gender, they'd be very gender fluid. Like they're kind of what they are. And that's just like, it's more of an energy thing for me as well. And I agree with Michael being very much more masculine. And like when I really like think of him, it's funny that you brought up like the Marlboro Man thing, because I really like imagine if I was trying to create a character of what he looked like, it would be very kind of like tough guy, just like meh. Biker jacket, like it just reminds me so much of my pops, like just very much of that, but like still being like a gentle person.
Azrael said that the triangle of manifestation should also be used. And I honestly am not sure that I know what you're talking about. So that could be something to be researched for anyone who would be actively trying to call an angel in. That's another method, I guess, that could be looked into.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Marlboro Man thing. When I saw him, like I immediately recognized the energy and knew who it was, but the appearance itself, I was like, what the? That's not what I would have conjured in my mind. Like, I was just totally taken aback by what I saw.
What did you like? What was that energy? What did it feel like? The Michael for you? Yeah.
Yeah. Michael's energy to me is hard, if that makes sense. Like, he's not cuddly. He's not like, come give me a hug kind of energy. Not that a lot of angels are, but when my experience of the energy is very sort of matter of fact, and like the physical sensations that happen in my body because of his presence are tingling and heat. Like he heats up a room like nothing else.
We are not going to be happy with this.
Experience of it, though.
Yeah, I know, but like, please turn down the heat. Like, I do not need to sweat anymore.
Okay, Amber Moon Witches Solstice asked about the hierarchy of angels. Now, of course, if you look at like religion, there's definitely a hierarchy. And maybe that's true. My experience of working with them doesn't come into play at all. Mm-hmm. There might be what I could call a hierarchy within our interaction, as far as like I say, like Metatron is like the top, like the one, and the others are, you know what I mean? But that's just my own personal interactions with them. They have never presented themselves in a way that would make me be like, this one's more important than this one or something like that. Yeah. But of course, according to religion, they are. You have the choirs of angels, you know, the seraphim and the cherub. I've looked into all of it, but like, it's fascinating, but it doesn't resonate. It doesn't, it holds no meaning in my personal practice, I guess.
Yeah.
I honestly was freaked out when I first started doing that 2018 Pagan Challenge, and I decided to do my first video on angels and demons and talk about what I thought. I was really nervous and like, because I'm like, witches don't work with angels. I'm weird. Like,
oh no.
But, I mean, you know, that's kind of a ridiculous statement anyway, because for me, witchcraft is not a religion. It's not. It does touch my spirituality. It is colored by my spirituality. They are connected, but it's not, I don't know. There's no
end all be all of it.
So yeah. Of course, angels can work. I mean, witches can work with angels. But I was really freaked out. Even like, I haven't talked about Metatron at all, not once on my channel for that. I think it
would be interesting to see what experiences other people have had in terms of like their own experiences with angels and stuff like that. And I would definitely like encourage you to talk about it on your channel if it was something that you wanted to, talk about.
Well, I mean, I wouldn't be doing this live with you if I hadn't decided.
Right, no, obviously, but like something you wanted to get more in depth with and like really talk to other people about. Like, I think that's like a super awesome idea. Just because I think that, especially because I don't think that you're alone in that thought of like, are witches allowed to do this? Like, do they work with this? Do they do this? Or and I think that we kind of tend to forget that like, it's like anything else. Like you have your own nuances and stuff like that, and of course there's gonna be a whole community out there for that thing that you thought no one else did, you know?
All right, well, we've been up here for a minute. About an hour, I would think.
Yeah.
And I think we've basically covered everything. I mean, I could talk to you forever, but.
Same. I am getting hungry though, so I think that it's dinner.
Dinner.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I want to thank everybody for popping in and saying hey and listening to us talk about our personal experiences working with angels. And again, of course, none of that like was us saying this is how it is. It's just our personal experiences.
Yep.
Thank you, Ashley, for coming and talking to me about it and giving me someone to come out of the angel closet with, in a sense, angel guide closet.
I love that. Just like any kind of coming out of the closet like memes or jokes. I'm just like, you have my queer heart like in your hands. Please be careful.
Oh, yeah, we're silly. Okay. All right, we're going to sign off. Thank you, Ashley.
Yes, thank you for having me.
Yeah, all right. Bye, everybody.
Bye.